You had Jason La Canfora from CBS Sports. He went ahead and ranked 13 teams that need a franchise quarterback the most, and he had the Browns at 7, saying that if they didn't have the $18 million committed to Baker Mayfield for 2022, that they'd be looking at multiple options and that he could see them doing something on day 2 of the draft because the Browns are stuck with the former number 1 overall pick. I disagree with the framing of that, but it's also important to keep in mind that he had the Browns ranked ahead of the Texans, who have Davis Mills, and ahead of the Lions with Jared Goff. So I think it's a little bit of an overshoot or an oversight when it comes to them being put up there. But I think that, a little bit. I think it's a little bit overblown, I feel, when it comes to, the narrative of being stuck with Baker at that point.
Well, I think it just goes back to the Browns having such high expectations because of the roster that is around Baker. I mean, you had some really good players that around Baker Mayfield last year, and it didn't work out. I mean, Odell got out, Jarvis was hurt, Austin Hooper had a terrible year. Kareem Hunt was out for over half the games. I mean, it would on paper it looked great, and then you add all that into it, and it's like, oh, now what? So going into next year, yeah, you're going to have, the receivers unit looks really light, especially if Jarvis Landry's back. And you're going to have to add some receivers. But the roster is still there. The offensive line is still there. The running backs are still there. Hopefully Kareem Hunt can get back and get healthy this year. You have a defense that I hope can sign Jadeveon Clowney again because they need that edge. You have some young up-and-coming players, Jacob Phillips. Greg Newsome had a great year last year. You want to see those guys continue to develop. JOK. So I think because of where the Browns are at roster-wise, I think that's why teams are that's why people would say, well, they need a franchise quarterback, because you could argue that Baker Mayfield was the biggest reason they didn't perform last year and didn't get to where they wanted to go. So if you put in Russell Wilson right away, they'll be back at the top, or you put in Aaron Rodgers right away, they'll be back at the top, which I kind of agree with. But I still think Baker can play to a really high level, maybe not the level of an Aaron Rodgers, especially in the Kevin Stefanski offense. But I think he can play, to a level to where he can get to where they want to go. So I think that's probably why people would say, oh, the Browns need a quarterback, because they're right there. And if Baker performs better last year, I think that they get back there again. So Baker needs to have a good year this year. There's no doubt. And I don't know, we'll see if he does, but or if we'll see if he's even back at all. So it's going to be very interesting.